So last night, Survivor 32 Kaoh premiered, and I'm just going to take this time to sort of go over the episode and give my thoughts on it, sort of on who I liked, who I didn't like, what I liked, didn't like, any first impressions I might have, or what I think could be expected from the season to come. Now, I want to actually start this off by saying that I don't have overly strong impressions on the cast so far, because, it's still the first episode, so a lot of what I'm saying and going on about could easily change over time. Now, this also includes Caleb, who I know a lot of people were familiar with from Big Brother and everything like that, but that season wasn't one that I had seen. I haven't overly gone through his season, so I don't know all of what it is that he might have done or said or anything like that. And therefore, I can only go off of what's shown in the actual episodes this season as I'm doing these. Maybe later on I'll have things brought up to me, or I'll come across them, or see them, or whatever the case may be. But for right now, at the very least, this is just off of what's been aired. And I want to actually start it off by sort of saying the Braun tribe to me seems to sort of be, I don't want to say the weakest tribe, because I still feel like they have the potential to do probably the best overall in most of the challenges, despite losing this week and having Darnell go home and all of that. But I do feel like they actually are a relatively strong and cohesive tribe. So even though I personally think they would have made the wrong decision in terms of winning challenges or moving further as a group, I don't think it should absolutely cripple them like some people are saying it would have. And either way, there's probably just going to be a swap in sometime from episode 3 to episode 5, or really any time before or after that. I want to just go over some of the things that happened on the Beauty Tribe. Firstly, just since that's the tribe that first came to mind. And I have to say, I am kind of enjoying Ty a bit so far. I know it's still the first episode, and I know they might just be showing him off to try and say, okay, he's not going to be around very long, so we want to get as much mileage out of him as we can. But if he stays around, I can kind of see him becoming, I don't want to say quite like Yao Man, because I know that fits into the whole, older Asian gentleman stereotype thing, but realistically, that is what they are trying to play him up to be, and that is what role he was probably cast into. I mean, admittedly, the casting department does have certain things that they probably want to fill, or that they're certainly looking for. But I did enjoy what he did, and how he was pretty much Kimmy just with trees instead of chickens and things like that, which I'll actually get back to in a little bit, because that brings me to him talking to Caleb. And even though it looked like at first they might have had something going on between them that could have been expanded, it kind of felt like it went down the drain a little bit after Ty got caught looking for the idol. Now, on one hand, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, this is Survivor. I'd expect everybody to be looking for idols the moment we got there, and I'd be shocked if they weren't. But in the early part of the game, it's all about building relations with people, building alliances with people, getting to know everyone, so that they feel that they can, at the very least, have some potential to trust you, have some potential to connect with you. That they think, well, maybe down the line, I can get to know this person or bring them in or rely on them in some way, shape, or form. But going off by yourself and being caught looking for the idol when there hasn't even been a challenge yet is just going to be something that turns people off of you, that makes them view you as untrustworthy, and that generally just distances you from the rest of the tribe. So while yes, it was funny to see him running around and ripping the trees out from the roots and digging holes like some madman, it doesn't really, like, it's obviously not the smartest thing he could have done, because, and as what wound up happening, doing something like that can lead to the rest of the tribe banding against you. The rest of the tribe said, well, we don't trust him, so if we lose, he's probably the first one to go. And granted that the three girls had already formed a tribe between them to go after the other two guys, because, you know, that sort of thing has to happen, and apparently girl power is something that's perfectly fine in this day and age, when, had it been the other way around, we all know exactly how everyone would have reacted, so let's kind of not try and fancy that up. But it just wound up making him look bad, and I can't really say that it paid off, or that it even would have had he found the idol, because my thought on the idol has always been that it'll keep you safe through one tribal council, just one vote if you use it, and that's it. But having a good alliance and having people trust you and having people want to rely on you will carry you a lot further than some fancy necklace will. Over on for the Brains tribe, I actually have to say it's probably my favorite tribe out of all of the three. And this might sound kind of weird, considering that in the original Brains versus Brawn versus Beauty, the Brains tribe was probably my least favorite out of the three, because I didn't really feel one way or another towards Tasha. I couldn't stand Spencer, and still kind of can't, and find him incredibly overrated and overpraised by people who watch things. I was sort of back and forth on Cass. I didn't really like Jaitia, and Garrett and David were sort of just there, because they were gone too early for me to really get an impression of them. But this season I feel like this tribe has pretty much, there's no one on it that I dislike. And since it's, while I'm aware that it being early could be a result of this, and that it could easily be changed in the next couple of episodes, I feel like it's probably going to turn out that my favorite for the season just comes from them. I mean, Joseph is someone who or Joe, if you will, is someone who I really hope just does really, really well and makes it at least to a swap, if not the merge, and further. Because he comes across to me as some sort of like, he's sort of like Gary from Guatemala mixed with Rudy from Borneo, which is actually kind of amazing. And not to mention the fact that he's, for a 71-year-old to look better than most like 50-year-olds is like, holy shit. Debbie is probably going to be somewhere along the lines of a female coach. She's just kind of crazy and out there, and always making these outlandish claims of things she's done and stuff she can do, and then failing to follow through on them. And I know she probably won't be around that long. She'll probably turn out to be like Sandy from Tokentins. But either way, I'm still looking forward to seeing more out of her as we go along. As for the younger people who have formed an alliance, which is Peter, which is Aubrey, which of course, you know, and includes like Neil and Liz and all of them. I have nothing against them, and in fact, Neil is probably one of the people that I think has a really good shot of winning this, if just based off how he talks and the sort of mindset that he has about things. Peter, I don't really have anything on, because it's kind of like, well, all I really remember seeing is that he said he was a doctor and that someone claimed he looked like Obama, so he said he was going to use that. However, that could help him. I don't really know. Aubrey, I was kind of worried when she had her meltdown because I have to think that they probably showed that for a reason, and that maybe if she was winning they wouldn't show it, but I'm not an editor. I'm just someone making a speculation, and it could very well be that it's something that she comes back from and learns to be stronger than ever and all of that. But that she beasted it through the challenge and actually absolutely just killed it was a really good sign, and maybe it just means that at the end of the day she just had to sort of get that out of her system and sort of just go through it to feel better and just move on. With the Braun tribe, on the other hand, I don't really know how to feel about them. I mean, despite going to tribal council, it doesn't feel like there's anyone who overly stands out, like, for me there. I mean, yes, there's Jason. Yes, there was a lot of focus on Alicia. Yes, there's Scott, and yes, Jennifer had the worm in her ear, but that's not really, like, I don't really get a strong opinion of them yet. I mean, on one hand, I feel like all the hatred that Alicia's been getting, both in the episodes and both from people online, is probably unwarranted in that I don't think she's really anywhere near as bad as people have been saying, because saying that she was bad at the puzzle when she flat out claimed that she wasn't good at puzzles and they pretty much told her to suck it up, or for her for it to be said that she wasn't doing anything in the challenge when she was still pushing just as hard as anyone, or how Darnell lost the mask and stuff like that. Which actually brings me to him, because I thought going into this that Darnell would be a better, I don't want to say a better character than he was, but I thought that he would just do better than he did. I didn't expect him to be the first person voted off, and through a lot of this episode I didn't think he would be either, because I mean, yes, he was relatively skinny, but he still looked pretty athletic, and I thought that at the very least Jason and Scott would want to vote out Alicia over him. And when the vote tied, I figured, oh well, they were just splitting in case she has an idol, and that since she doesn't, they'll just switch their votes to her. But I honestly can't say I'll miss him too much though, which kind of makes me sad to say, because I was looking forward to him beforehand, and I thought, well, maybe he'll be some sort of Sean from Marquesas type, which has nothing to do with him being black or anything like that. That's just the type of vibe that he was giving off with how he was talking and how he was saying, and him saying how growing up on the streets of Chicago was so rough and everything was pretty similar to what Sean was saying about how growing up in Harlem was very difficult and everything like that. So it could have been something that was worked into a similar type of story, and it looked like that was something that they wanted to do before the challenge happened. So that's not just some random thing I threw out. There actually is basis for it. The challenge itself, I thought it was an alright challenge. I don't really go in and have these big thought processes on how, oh, this was the greatest challenge of all time, or oh, this was bullshit and so stupid, or anything like that. I think the only real things I've had to say about challenges are that I'm upset that the last one doesn't really seem to be endurance much these days, because ever since Palau, when they stood on the buoy for 12 hours and probably cost them God knows how much in terms of film. But other than that, one other thing I actually wanted to talk about that some people had been giving a lot of negative reaction to was that Caleb mentioned that he and I quote, wasn't sure why Tai was on the beauty tribe. Now, a lot of people took this and they said that, that it was Caleb being homophobic, and I don't know if he said anything on Big Brother that was homophobic in nature. I can't comment on that, so I'm not going to pretend that no, he never said anything like that on there, or yes, he did, or whatever. But in the context of it, to me, just based off what was shown and his body language and tone, it didn't look like he was saying it in any way, shape, or form to be homophobic, or even to say that since he was old, or that he was Asian, or that he was ugly, or anything like that, to show question towards that. It just sounded to me like he was saying you can't judge anyone right off the bat, and that you can't judge a book by its cover, and that there has to be more to him than he's thinking, or than he sees, which has nothing to do with homophobia at all, is actually a true statement of pretty much anyone. And at that point in the game, it was so early that, for all we know, he didn't even know that Tai was gay. So, it's, as far as I see it, I don't think it had anything to do with Tai's sexuality or with his race or anything like that, regardless of what people might say. So I just wanted to sort of get that out of the way while I could. Now, as for favorites that I might have in this season when it comes to winning, I have to say Neil is probably my favorite right now. It's tough for me to say because it's still too early, but Neil does look like he has some kind of a good head on his shoulder for things. He's strong enough to be kept around to help out the tribe. He's not so strong looking that he comes across as a threat. He's smart enough to know how things work, but he doesn't come across as being super smart, so other people aren't going to think that he's this giant schemer. And as much as I dislike the idea he had of having the younger people stick together to vote out the older people, I can't really argue with it, because theoretically you want to have the highest percentage or the best chance of actually winning a challenge again as you can. So by trying to keep the people that would traditionally be fit into that role isn't really anything but being practical and pragmatic, and I honestly cannot fault him for that, even if the two people that would be targeted from it are two people that I really like. If I had to pick another, I'd probably go with maybe Anna. She seems to be set up a little bit to be like that, but I can't say for certain one way or another if it's just that she actually is smart, or that she's being shown to think she's smart when she's really not, or that she's supposed to be seen as being like really manipulative and stuff, so that we'll expect her to be voted out and that she'll be blindsided and people will notice that she's this giant threat and get rid of her. I'm not sure what or where things are going for her right now. I can't see Scott winning. I can't see Jason winning. The same, I probably can't see Alicia winning, even though it would be kind of amusing. Liz, I don't really know. I don't think so. There's just something that just in my gut that just says it's probably not her. If I had to pick a third, I guess I would pick Sydney, because she's probably the only person from the Bronze tribe that I can see having a legitimate shot at winning, other than possibly Jen, and I don't feel like Jen has had anything other than just having a bug in her ear. But since it's the first episode, then there's still always plenty of room for that, and if by like episode 3 or 4 someone I've mentioned hasn't had anything else, then I might second guess my chances, or my choices rather. But pretty much this has just been like thoughts on the people and the episode itself, and just going over stuff. I know there's probably been some things I've missed, and there will probably be a bunch of stuff that I'll look back on and think, fuck, I should have talked about that, but it's no big deal. It's no big deal. One other thing is, I know some people were kind of upset that they didn't show the intro at the start of the episode, but seeing as they actually made one, and we actually at least have one to watch online anyway, it doesn't bother me as much as it does some people, though some people really are just going to be bothered by anything that's not exactly perfect as they see. So that's just how life is. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts off the top. I hope the rest of the season turns out to be really well, or really good. I'll try and do one of these for every episode that comes out, and I'll probably try and do these for some other stuff too. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm out.